Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Russell, and I think I've probably got the longest title of a presentation today, so good work, Jane, for getting that right. How I wanted to start the session today is actually to rewind to 2010, 2011, when Amazon first got into this business. Amazon used to go to the companies around the world and say, why is a bookseller coming to talk to you about IT? And it's amazing today in 2017 to think that that ever happened based off the market presence and obviously the fantastic success that the Amazon Web Services company have had. Now, the reason I make that point is it's very similar to me now. Why is Facebook coming to talk at an Amazon event? And I'll get to that a little bit later because it is quite interesting. And it kind of works around the story of why is Facebook talking to businesses, enterprises, and governments. And that's what I'm going to start on right now. So how I wanted to start was a little bit of a view on our mission statement, and this has changed recently. Facebook is a very mission-driven company, and our mission is to allow people to have the power to create communities and to foster closer and more connected environments. And that really came from our earlier mission, which was to make the world a more open and connected place. And that mission and those missions really drive everything that we've done to date in the consumer space and are now starting to focus on governments, public sectors, corporations, small to medium-sized businesses. But everything that we do is focused around how do we allow people to create more engaging communities. And I'm going to start with the story now, which is from our background and where we've come from, and then link into what we're doing in the market locally. The first thing that's very important to know is we are, in addition to being a very mission-driven company, we hold a set of values very, very close. They're very, very important to us, and it's quite similar again to Amazon in this way. And so what you see up on the slide here are a set of the posters that we have around every Facebook office. You'll know a Facebook office because you'll see these posters everywhere. And these are created by our staff when they join the company. And the first sticker that everyone gets when they join the company, I was going to take a photo of it, is one that says, this is now your company. Right? The first thing that you're given as an employee is knowing you are now, this is your company, this is your place to do what you want. And so these posters really talk to what we hold close as our key principles. So you see things like fail harder. Really try your hardest to fail harder, fail faster. When things don't work, move on very quickly. Move fast and break things. Now that one's changed recently due to the size of Facebook now. We changed that to move fast with reliable infrastructure, but it started off as move fast and break things. Move quick, iterate, and move on. So these are what we hold very dear, and we've held a lot of these very dear from the early days. And one of the earliest ones is nothing at Facebook is someone else's problem. If you see a problem, fix it. Don't leave it to someone else. We were a small team of a couple of thousand people in the early days. Just get the problem done. And so we wanted to ensure that as we grew, we held on to these as a company. And the stats really speak for themselves. In 2011, we had around about 3,000 employees, and we had about 850 million users on the platform. Now, if you fast forward to 2017, as of yesterday, end of last week, we had just over 20,000 staff within the company, and we have over 2 billion users on just Facebook.com alone. And we have 1.3 billion users on a daily basis on that platform. Leaving aside Instagram, WhatsApp, and the other solutions, Messenger within our portfolio. So as we grew and as we are growing, we want to ensure that we're retaining the company culture and the company values that we hold very dear. And we remember that in our head office, what do you call this? Street sign. So this is the street sign that you see at One Hack Away, which is our head office in Menlo Park. And what's important about this is not what's on the front, but it's what's on the back. This is the back of that same sign. And we don't say this to ridicule Sun. A lot of us who come from a technology background think Sun is one of the best companies that ever existed. We keep this up as a reminder of what happens to companies that don't change. And everything that we're going to talk about now is a story of change. The reason why Facebook is talking to enterprises, businesses, and governments is because the world is changing, and how do we continue to change along with it? The standard stats that you have to put up, and when we look at the change and the change in work, is the one that really interests me is the 69% of leaders that believe that communication is key to driving their vision, but less than 20% believe that they're doing it effectively. Or, and I think I've even got a green clicker here, up the top, the millennial workforce. Within 2.5 years, more than 50% of the workforce will be born after the year 2000. Significant change is happening, which happens obviously due to the fact that we all get older and new people are born. But the reality is these are the tools that the millennials use to connect and communicate. These are the tools that all of us, I'm not a millennial, use to connect and communicate. When I talk with my family, I don't send emails. I haven't sent emails for years. I use one of these icons for nearly everything that I do. It's not to say that email's dead, it's not by any means, but I communicate in a different way. The world has changed. So what I generally do now is ask the audience, how many of you use these in your personal life? And one of these, I'd imagine nearly every hand in the room. It's very unique not to see a hand. Put up your hand if you don't use one of these icons in your day-to-day business life though. And that's one thing that's really interesting is most hands stay down on that because we are using these tools now within our business lives. We've changed. We want to use more effective communication tools. We want to be more connected and we want to have more authentic connections with the people that we're having them with. So that's why we see significant change. And that is very similar to the Amazon Web Services message. The world has changed. There are different ways to communicate. There are different ways to run IT infrastructure and to build your company. And I'm still going to get onto why I'm up here instead of talking at a Facebook event. But before I do, this is a snapshot of how we started our change and how we kept our culture. In 2011, we released a feature within Facebook called Groups that many of you might use in your day-to-day personal lives. What people won't know is Groups was actually created for our own internal use, but we exposed it on the public service and we started creating secret groups for us to start doing work on. So the really interesting thing there was we were using our personal Facebook accounts, but we had secret groups and the company would come together in standard Facebook that we all use and they would collaborate. Now, moving forward from that, we had some of our large companies that wanted to work with us and collaborate far more effectively on the platform. And in doing so, they wanted to start using the platform. So if you fast forward to today, 2017 is, or 2015 really, when we first started the announcement, we brought out Workplace. And this is what Workplace looks like. Workplace is Facebook, but it's an isolated version of Facebook for your organisation or your government department. And I'm not going to spend too much more time on this, on the product, apart from to say that Facebook and Workplace are very similar. It is a way in which your business, in a private, secure environment, can collaborate and communicate more effectively. I want to talk about a couple of stories though, and before I do, and these relate to the Singapore government and some of our customers here, is if you look at what Workplace is, something that Mark said that I think is really quite compelling is it is an application, that's for sure, but it really is a different way to run a company. Because what Facebook gives you, which is what Workplace gives you, is the ability to be far more open and connected. So our discussions with companies and organisations are primarily around change management. We're an agent of change when a company wants to go through change, or in Singapore government's case, when a government wants to lead the world in the way that it engages its constituents and its citizens. It is a platform to allow you to communicate more effectively and collaborate, and that adds onto the earlier message that I showed from Mark. And at a corporate level, we have a significant amount of organisations that have taken up the platform across industries. Airlines, banks, fast-moving consumer good, distribution companies, logistics, television organisations. There is a wide group. There are really not too many patterns of organisations that are using Workplace for the one reason: every company needs to communicate. They need to be more effective in the way that they communicate. And we were very proud to announce last week that as of, I think it's last Thursday, Walmart have publicly stated that they are moving their business to start utilising Workplace. Now, for those that don't know Walmart, and a lot of people don't, a lot of people in the US do, it is the world's largest private employer with over 2 million employees within their ranks. They want to communicate more effectively, they want to break down barriers within their retail stores, and they want to have their teams collaborating together across boundaries. And that's what they get with Workplace. But in addition to that, and more relevant for this conversation now, is, well, what are we doing in the public sector space? And so just over 12 months ago, the Singapore government announced that the Singapore government, and a lot of people in this room, will be starting to use Workplace as an agent of change to drive greater communication internally. Now, some of you will be on the platform already, some of you will not. And again, due to the fact that I'm talking to an audience that should be or will be using Workplace in some way, I'm not going to spend time on the platform. I'm going to talk about what people are doing on the platform and what's coming next. So be it Singapore government, be it the largest non-government development group with BRAC, education groups like UNE in Australia, or the case study that I'm going to run through very quickly, which is Tock, Seng, fantastic use of next generation tools within a medical environment. We have a wide group of companies working on the platform. In addition to that, we've got a wide group of partners that we're working with around Asia. Our business, as we grow, is not being driven by us, it's being driven by our partnerships. Those companies that know the local market, they know the customers, they know the cultural significance of conversation and communication. And some of those companies are here today. Cloud Comrade, for example, a fantastic Singapore-based partner working with us on many different projects, including some government ones, FPT, for example, as well. So our business is driven through companies that understand the market space far better than we do with our very small team. The first example that I want to talk through, though, has nothing to do with public sector in any way, shape or form, and it's Starbucks. The reason I want to talk about it is because, very similar to a government, you have a lot of remote and mobile workers who are needing to collaborate together. And when Kevin came on to take over from the original founder who was retiring, he wanted to change the company. He wanted to have a far closer and more intimate connection with everyone within the company. And he wanted to be more authentic in the way that he did it. So I'm going to quickly roll a video just to talk about that briefly.
In January, we implemented Workplace by Facebook. Now think of Workplace by Facebook as a private Facebook for Starbucks partners to communicate and share information. Workplace allows us now to stream live open forums and have real-time dialogue with our store managers. We launched this in January with a live open forum hosted by Howard and myself with all store managers in the US. That's what you see up here on the screen. This was actual live open forum in January. And you can see by this live video, we are getting real-time comments, hearts, thumbs up, sometimes a thumbs down, mostly thumbs ups, and store managers asking us questions. Now this was a new experience for both Howard and myself. But we have now started doing these Workplace live open forums with our store managers every month. And store managers have now found a way to create community and better connect with us. Some recent examples. About a month ago, a store manager posted on Workplace. They posted a post that said that they are selling more than 20 beverages a day that are not on our official beverage menu. They are beverages that were featured on Instagram. How many people use Instagram to get your beverage? See all kinds of beverages on Instagram. Well, they're selling 20 a day. They're not sure they have the right recipe. Well, within 24-hour period, nearly 40 other store managers also posted and said, I'm selling 15 of these a day. I'm selling 30 of these a day. And then that evening, our category marketing team saw the volume of posts and how much this beverage featured on Instagram was selling in our stores. And they made a decision that night and posted back to store managers by the next morning that they had made the decision to add this to the official beverage recipes, something that could have taken weeks, if not months, to happen before Workplace, happened in one day. That is creating visibility with our store managers that's enabling us to have more velocity in the way we make decisions so we can better serve our store managers and our partners in the stores.
Now what's interesting with that is a couple of things. First is the timeliness of communication being able to change the way that a business, or in your case, a government department reacts. right? The ability to take inputs from a wide community and affect change within a business is fantastic. The other one that I think is very important is we had nothing to do with this video in any way, shape or form. We'll send it after the fact. This is a video of a quarterly shareholders meeting. I can't think of any time in my life I've ever heard of a CEO get up at a quarterly shareholders meeting and talk about an application and a tool that they're using internally, enterprise software that they're using. It just simply doesn't happen. So it shows within Starbucks environments, they wanted to show to the market that they were changing. They wanted to show that they were utilising next generation communication tools to attract the talent that they needed to work internally, as well as the wider position of the agility of the business to change on a daily basis. So I love that. I think it's a great use case. But if we look more locally and we look at Tock Seng Hospital and their kampong that they talk about within workplace, a couple of great examples from them of how they're using the platform. The first one is to get information out quickly and effectively across the organisation. How do they do it? They have a set of groups within workplace that allow them to disseminate information to their staff in a very effective manner. But in addition to that, and in addition to the old style newsletters, is you can react. You can have an emotional attachment to it. You can comment to it. It creates a bi-directional communication that didn't really exist before when you got a newsletter or there was something in a breakout room. Every single person has workplace sitting on their mobile phone. They don't need to be going into a breakout room to be seeing the latest information. They can have that at their fingertips. In addition to that, directly sharing within a team. How do I team within an organisation or a department? And here, if you look an example of the nursing departments and some of their information that they share internally to team. Simplifying work. This is an absolute no-brainer. See a problem, take a photo of it, put it in a group for fixing it, someone comes in and fixes it. Very, very low tech. It is simply a group to post where you see issues. If you see an issue, take a photo and get it fixed. You see some drains, you see some broken pillars on walls. It's a very, very simple use case, but it's very timely to be able to get that information in a real-time way to the people that need it within a very high-intense environment like a hospital. And then finally, information management. A lot of people and a lot of companies and businesses these days are actually, not all, but a lot, are starting to think about using Workplace to remove internal wikis, internal share sites that they have. The ability to utilise a group or a set of groups to actually share that information is quite key. It's a great example of it here. And the final one, which is where a lot of people believe Facebook comes from, is enterprise social networks. In addition to doing work, I also have the ability to socialise with my work colleagues. So the ability to really think of it as a community. You're not just a staff member, you're a member of a team. You're a person within that company. And the ability to have communities within work. It isn't you doing work, but it's a function of work. So I love Tock Seng. I think it's brilliant. But let's move on in the last 7 minutes. I think I've got less time than I was meant to have. What next? And before we move on to what next, it really comes down to why am I here talking at an Amazon Web Services event? Facebook runs all of its infrastructure in its own data centers. You know, we have 2 billion users on Facebook.com alone. We own every single data center we have around the world. It's a very different discussion from a lot of governments, a lot of organisations. We're lucky enough and humbled by the success of this business, so we do run in a different way. However, we provide a service that I've been speaking to you about, which is our communication and collaboration service. We don't allow companies that want to integrate into our platform or add value on top of our platform a place to do it. And the reality is Amazon Web Services is the global leader in this space. So as we go to our partners, as we go to our customers to look at how they want to integrate more into our platform, we turn to Amazon and obviously the suite and portfolio of services that sit there. And that's really what I'm going to talk about now, which is what next? After you got beyond the human-to-human based communications and engagements, you've enhanced that. How do I do more? How do I move to have human-to-machine based interfaces, engagements, and how do I move from machine to human based? Why on earth would I go into an HR system simply to check how much time off I have or to take time off, as opposed to doing it in a more conversational way? So let's talk about bots very quickly. There's a couple of different areas that we see that workplace can be enhanced. I'm going to talk about process automation and integration with other systems. I'm not going to talk through all of these due to time, but the reality is once you've got a communication platform that allows you to engage better between humans, how can I do more with it within my enterprise environment? And the first one here around process automation. This is a picture of a Facebook office. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples here which are internal, because we use over 100 bots or digital assistants within our organisation. If you come to a Facebook office, you see a touchscreen like this. You don't need to speak to anyone behind the counter, more or less. This is our digital assistant, our digital receptionist. I then get a message to say, hey, someone's at the front door. Am I going to be there on time? Do I need 10 minutes? Someone will then tell them if I'm going to be late. You know, we've now got 20,000 users. We don't want to grow our team extraordinarily large. We want to utilise technology where we can. A very, very simple use case of deeper integration. Timely information being passed where information's needed. In addition to that, interview reminders. I've already done 2 interviews this morning, and I did 3 last night as we grow. What I get 15 minutes before an interview is I've got an automated bot that goes out to our HR system and our recruitment system, pulls the information I want and passes it to me 15 minutes before the event. Okay? Actually, this is a real one I found out the other day. Luke Walsh is actually coming to Singapore in a couple of weeks. Luke's coming in for an interview. Here's his CV. Here's the time. Here are the questions that have already been asked to him. It's a pretty basic use case, but it's something that we haven't had before, and the information is now at my fingertips. So these use cases are things that we've built ourselves, that we use internally, but for our customers, you need a platform to do it. So again, utilising the Amazon Web Services stack, utilising some of the solution sets that sit within it, everything from EC2 all the way through to your very, very specific natural language processing systems. There is a wide group of services that can be used. Lost property, very basic one, very similar to the Fix-It one at Tock Seng Hospital. This is what I've found, this is what's available, how can I get it? Within a large organisation like us, I think we have 10,000 guests through our campus in Menlo Park alone each month. We need to be able to make sure that we can automate some of these things. Very basic use cases. And the one that I'm going to show you now takes it to another level. This is a development by a partner of ours called Quench, and this is what's called a mood meter. Now, this allows you in real time to take the pulse of your company. How are you feeling about work? How long do you plan on being here? It's a pretty simple interface, but it allows you to tap on a day-to-day basis how engaged people are. What are people's problems? Are they feeling stressed? Are they happy? There might have been a significant announcement, such as the terrible news in the US last weekend. That might be affecting your organisation. How do I take the pulse of the company in real time? This is an example here through one of our partners with Moodimeter. Integration with other business applications. For us, we have these panels on all of our meeting rooms that have been built internally because we had a lot of people who didn't turn up to meetings and their meeting rooms were sitting there. Right? So here's a meeting room, it's available soon. I need to find a meeting room. I've said I need to find a meeting room. How long do I need it for? And is there video conferencing infrastructure built in? It integrates with our internal asset management system and allocates it, or it notifies me if I'm late. Okay? Very simple. Check into that room so I can know whether or not the room's available. Another simple use case there along those same lines. Now, these are systems that we've built. These systems aren't available for our customers. But our partners, like Cloud Comrade, who are sitting out in the vendor area outside, they build these for our customers. They build these for government departments, they build them for corporate customers, because these aren't solutions that we deliver. These are integrations into our platform. Safety officer. I might get you to turn the volume down on this one a little bit. This is a application to check the safety of staff in times of emergency. There's been a cyclone, there's been, God forgive, a terrorist attack, there's been a flood. So Safety Officer, which is created by a company called Service Rocket, allows them in real time to set out an alert to everyone within their company, everyone within their government department. How are you? Are you okay? It's like our Facebook check-in service that we have. They've created one for enterprises. And this allows you to very seamlessly find out in real time where people are they okay? again, as we're creating a sense of community, it's very, very important to ensure that we're looking out for our staff and for the people that we work within. Very simple solution to easily identify where people are and to be able to report that back internal to an organisation. This solution sits on Amazon Web Services. Like a lot of the partner solutions that are out there, they take the platform that is being utilised by the majority of customers that we're working on together. They rapidly develop from the portfolio of services that the likes of Amazon have in the market space. Really compelling. I've only got a minute or so left, so I'm just going to tap through the next couple of slides and move on to learning and innovation. Learning and innovation is quite interesting. How do I ensure that people are attending learning sessions when I'm running training sessions within an organisation? This is a great one because a lot of people want to try and get out of their learning requirements, miss a class or two. Within Workplace, within Facebook, what we do is within the event, we put up a code, and after the event, a bot comes out to you and says, hey, what was the code for the event that you were just at, the training that you went to? You simply have to put it in, and if you get it wrong, you're marked down as not being at the training. It's a simple way for us to be able to monitor who's been at certain things and people who haven't. The final one, and I think probably the most important for large organisation and government departments, is a really simple thing called Jargon Bot. There are so many acronyms within companies. There are so many acronyms within government departments. How do I very quickly and effectively within a meeting be able to type out what DLS means, for example? How do I find out what that is? This is a very simple way to utilising your chat-based client, in this case work chat, to be able to understand what the jargon is that's being spoken about in the meeting. It's a very simple way to gain information and knowledge and participate in a conversation as opposed to wait to the end of the meeting or not put up your hand because you're feeling a bit concerned that you didn't know what the conversation was about. So, as I finish up, for all of you, and for most of you actually, which are within government departments, that are starting to use Workplace to drive greater connections and communications with your staff and your students and drive more authentic connections, that is fantastic to make sure you get to that point between two human beings. But as we move forward and as you broaden the set of workflows that you want to use on Workplace, think about what use cases they are and really think about how to deliver them. And with the government certifications and compliances that Amazon has in the Singapore market alone, this is a no-brainer and it is a really good tie-up between Facebook and Amazon. So, with that said, that's why I'm here speaking to you today. I'm going to be outside at the booth for the next couple of hours. Feel free to come around and have a chat, ask a question, or if you want to have a look at any of the bots in more detail, I'd be more than happy to do that. Thank you all very much.